Hey, what's going on, Brotherhood? Me and Ifeanyi here. We said we were going to do a follow-up to our breakfast. If you missed it last Friday, go back and watch it. It'll be attached to this email, or if you're watching on YouTube, we'll put it in the description below this video. Yep. But there were a few things that we didn't get to talk about. I just noticed, like, I'm wearing the same sweatshirt that I wore that day. I promise I have more than just this sweatshirt.
You're consistent.
I am consistent. You just keep bringing that theme right from Friday morning into this. But and I'm excited to keep talking about this. And this is not going to be long. Yeah. And before we hit play on this, we're like, this is just going to be regular conversation. I got the laptop on my lap because I got to remember some of the things that I wanted to ask. So I just want to jump into it. If you didn't catch the breakfast, like I said, watch it back. We're going to kind of pick up in the part of the story where Ifeanyi, you had a career at AT&T. You were kind of rising in the ranks, and you were about to get a pretty significant promotion that was going to move you to Oakland, California from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it was either Oakland or Philly. You had a couple good chances or good opportunities, I should say. You had decided, hey, let's go to Cali. It was kind of in some final interviews, and you get the call. It was from Gabe, right? Yep. You get the call from Gabe George. Hey, I'm taking over 180. I want you to be a part of the 180 team. Brandy goes, you know what you're supposed to do. Right. And deep down, you told me, I remember you said that was like a big spiritual turning point for you, because up until that point, you had been building a career, like climbing the ladder, chasing success. This seemed like an intentional sidestep from kind of that path to do what you felt like God 100%. Was calling you to do. And as is often the case, you land here first day, and tell us what happens.
Well, I mean, the decision was big, and for so many reasons, but one of the most important reasons was I saw myself as retiring with AT&T. Yeah. I had, pension, you have all these things set up so that you could retire and live that lifestyle. And so I never saw myself leaving. Yeah. So for me to make this decision, and at a young age, not very mature in my spiritual walk, it was a big deal, big decision. So making that decision to come, my first day, I show up here, ready to go to work on time, like a good employee. I'm coming from AT&T,
corporate America,
business world. And so I show up, and you need a badge to get in. I don't have a badge. So I make a phone call. Oh, hey, I'm not there. Reach out to this person, right? Yeah. So I call this person, and they come down, let me in the building, kind of show me where my office space was, order some furniture.
Yeah, tell me how nice the office was set up for you.
There was one table in there.
So you got handed a catalog, right? Said,
basically,
pick out some office furniture.
Get some awesome office furniture. Oh, you might want to stop by HR. Just check in with them. So I do that. I head over to HR, and I'm talking to Priscilla
because she was over HR.
She was over HR at that time. For those of you that don't know, so she's there, and you could tell it's kind of awkward. I don't think she's prepared for me. And so when I tell her I work here, she's like, oh, you do? And she's kind of like fiddling around, trying to find some folders or some paperwork. Hey, let me make some phone calls. I'm going to get back to you. Just go back up to your office and I guess order some furniture.
Order some more desk chairs or something. Yeah. So that had to have made you feel really good. I left my corporate America AT&T job.
I hope I have a job
I don't even know if they want me here.
Exactly.
But God was in it. They got you a badge.
Yeah.
And man, you've been consistently inconsistent, not you as a person, but in terms of all the different hats that you've worn here. Yeah. You have worn so many different hats. Talk a little bit about kind of the different roles that you've had since that day when Priscilla onboarded you.
Yeah, man. I started out in bus ministry. Bus ministry at that time didn't last very long. It was huge, though. Yeah, we had lots of kids coming from different areas of the city, and just a lot of fights. We felt like it wasn't the best thing for the kids that we were trying to mature and grow. Yeah. And anyway, those kids actually stopped coming. So it was just the kids that we were busing in at one point. So we made a decision to put a pause on the bus ministry, which, that's my job. So I kind of switched jobs. Some of my focuses became like Christmas train, summer camp. And those were some pretty magical years.
Yeah.
But after doing that for so long, I got to a point where I was just like questioning, man, am I doing the right thing? I feel like I'm not necessarily using my giftings.
Yeah.
And so there's this kind of incomplete feeling that I'm having. And so I considered at one point, like, going back to AT&T.
Mm-hmm.
I would make more money there.
Mm-hmm.
I knew the systems. I knew the people. Just seemed like a great connections. But I remember praying about it, and I heard, there's very few times when I heard something like this from God, but I heard him say, you can't go back to Egypt.
Mm.
And that hit me.
Wow.
It was just like, man, I'm in the right seat. I need to keep going forward. I can't go back to Egypt. This is very similar to the children of Israel. When they're going into the promised land and they see the giants and they're like, oh no, we got to fight giants. Did God bring us out here to die? And no, they desired to go back to Egypt, to where they came from, the familiarity, the comfort in that. And that's what I was seeking. Yeah. And God clearly said, no, this is what I have for you. Stand still, know that I'm God. Yeah. I'm working on your behalf.
Man, that's huge.
Yeah.
That may be where some guys are. They're listening to this right now. They're like thinking, that's good. Let's head back to Egypt. It was better. It was better back there. And maybe especially for some of you who you've made some decisions that are for the Lord. Mm-hmm. You've decided, hey, I'm going to be in church more, or I'm going to start reading my Bible. And instead of just like being overwhelmed by wonderful blessings, it feels like it's gotten harder. Yeah. And man, what a good message. Maybe just through watching this podcast right here, God is trying to remind you, hey, don't go back to Egypt. I've got more for you. And that's what I like about your story is you were bus ministry, you were host and Wednesday night, you were Dry Gulch and Christmas Train, you were all these things, and you were doing good. I mean, everybody loves you, and you were doing good, but it was in 2017 that something kind of shifted. And I think, and I've only known you since 2017 because that's when I came, it's just like, man, your ministry effectiveness has just kind of taken off in these last 9 years. But something significant happened in 2017. And I mean, yes, part of it was I showed up, but you and I have gotten to work together a lot, like side by side, and that's been a blessing to me. But really the thing that happened in 2016 or 17, that's kind of the season that House to House started. And a few guys watching this will know what House to House was. Talk about when Church on the Move said, we're going to try small groups, and kind of what that meant for your role as well as what that meant for you and your family.
Yeah, so at the time I was overseeing the host team, and I think there was a transition where House to House was switching to small groups. We were bringing in some new staff to kind of oversee that, which you were one of those guys, and myself. And so when the offer was presented to me, it was like, hey, we'd like for you to move over to this area. I remember feeling like, oof, small groups? My idea of small groups was, guys crying and, sharing your feelings and, nothing I had a desire to do, right? I'm here for the sports ministries. Let's do that. So when I accepted the job, I was like, well, I guess I better get in one of these things. I got to figure out how they're going and the benefits of them. And anyway, when we did, I would say that because of my job here, I already felt really connected. Yeah. I had good people in my life. I would hear certain things that people were doing with their families, and I'd be like, that's good. I need to implement that in my life. So there's just a lot of growth happening for me. However, on my wife, her point of view was like, you're thriving in this place. You have all of these connections. I don't really have those friends. And she's a little bit more introverted. And so for her, it was just didn't have the real relationships that I was building. So when we decided to, hey, let's do a small group, we met some amazing people whose struggles were similar to ours. Yeah. People who had different backgrounds and struggles and hurts and pains. And it grew this like passion for care inside of both of us, where we're now like, we're praying for families. We're having conversations about, hey, watching our kids, you watch your kids, you know what I mean? Just a lot of things are taking place, and we see that we're growing. And suddenly, after being in the group for I don't know how long, we finally like, man, this is good community. We just need these people. I realized that my sanctification journey is like it's a group effort, right? Yeah. I needed people in my life. I needed you in my life to come and show me things and share from your experiences what God has done in your life, and vice versa. Like, I just think we're supposed to be, as the church is supposed to be, iron sharpens iron. Yeah. thus we do for one another.
Yeah.
And so that's what began to take place in our relationships. Brandy meeting friends, I'm making friends, and growth starts happening out of that.
I love the fact that, and it's true of your story, it's true of mine as well, like God has this way of leading us. He leads us in places that we can handle.
Yeah.
And then he leads us a little further, and then he shows us something else. He's just always inviting us to keep going, because when you were serving as a pastor here, even from when you first started, it was good. You were a good pastor. You were managing things well. You had good leadership gifts. It was good.
Yeah.
Then he opens up a new season, and you find out things that are good for you and good for the church. And I'd say there's probably guys on here that are watching this that, if you've been around Brotherhood at all, you know that we talk about Ecclesiastes 4, 2 are better than one. And we talk about Proverbs 17, as iron sharpens iron, which you just quoted. A lot of you are involved in those sorts of things, but some of you haven't taken that step yet. And it might be God is just saying, hey, take the risk of being in some community. And you're saying, you didn't really want to do it at first, but then you found it wasn't what you thought. It wasn't just going to be a bunch of laying on the couch and crying about your feelings, but actually you could care for one another. You could find things in common, find common interests, and what it did for you and Brandy. And I would say that's a reason why we don't want Brotherhood to dominate all of your time when it comes to your relationship with God.
That's good.
We do the kind of Brotherhood focus in the fall for our mid-size and small groups, but in the spring, we love to see you go through re-engage with your wife, or go through a Bible study with your wife, get into some community with your wife, because Brotherhood's not meant to just be show up at church and go hang out with dudes. That's not what it's meant. It's meant for us to be strengthened together, which I think men uniquely do, but then go be a blessing and a benefit to your wife and to your family and to your church. And so keep that perspective, because as much as you had an environment around you that was really blessing you and helpful for you, and you felt connected, Brandy was like, I don't really have that. And some of you guys, I know some of you guys are connected to Brotherhood, and it's pretty good for you. And your wife's going like, I don't really have that.
Right.
Work hard as a husband to create the setting or the environment where your wife can have some of that too with other couples. That's just something I think some of you need to hear. But in the same way I'm saying God just kind of leads us in steps. Yeah. You went from being a pastor around here, being good at it, feeling connected, then you're experiencing community, and you're like, oh, this is what those 54 one another passages from the New Testament. We're just meant to do life together, and you're experiencing the benefit of that. But that's not all God had for you, because he was showing you what the beauty and the unity of the family inside the church, inside the family of God. But one Sunday, and I can't remember who was speaking, but I know you said you walked out of the auditorium and there was a table there, and kind of what happened at that table and some statistics like opened your eyes even more. So talk about that.
Yeah. So I think we were doing some sort of series on, getting out into the community, serving. Yeah. And so we had these tables set outside of each of the vomitoriums. And when I walked out, the one table that was in front of me was reading partners. I knew nothing about reading partners, but I did know how to read. Anyway, so
that's a good start.
Yeah. I walked up to the table just to get some information, and the lady was explaining to me, hey, we do reading partners at a school that's not too far from here, actually in the neighborhood across the street. And I was like, okay, that's close. I could do something like that. And she started talking to me about the statistics, which really stood out to me. One of the statistics was a child that grows up in a single-parent home is like 65 to 70% likely to end up in prison. Wow. And so I hear this number, shocking number, and I was like, man. Okay, and then she goes on to say more of just like we're building jail cells based on third grade reading levels. And it's heartbreaking to know that this is happening in my own city, and I'm completely unaware. Yeah. And so I'm spurred on to like, okay, I'm in. It didn't matter what she said after she gave me those statistics. Yeah. I can make a difference here. I can read, right? Right. And so I would go over to Kerr Elementary School, and I would read to a kid once a week. I think it was on a Thursday around my lunchtime. So I'm going over there. I remember talking to this girl after Christmas, and I asked her, hey, how was your Christmas? And she responds with just normal, not heartbroken or anything. Well, I was living with my aunt. Me and my mom were living with our aunt, and my dad found us. He came over drunk. My mom ended up putting me in the car and drove me to a hotel where we would sleep in the car, the hotel parking lot that night.
Wow.
And she said it without any emotion. It just seemed like this is normal life for her, is what I was gathering. And compelled to do something about it. I didn't know what to do with this information, so I told the principal. And the principal was like, yeah, that's pretty much the story of, 30 to 40% of our kids. Wow. They're houseless. They don't have a permanent residence. They either live with teachers or siblings or aunts and uncles. Like, they're coming out of these broken families. And so it made me think, this is probably why reading levels are low in these communities, right? They're worried about other things. Yeah. Or maybe there's not someone in the home that can help them with their homework. So for me, it was just like, how can we really be a blessing to these students?
Yeah.
And so I would end up getting with that counselor at the school, and she gave me a list of kids that, hey, these kids probably won't have Christmas the next year without, some sort of intervention. Yeah. So one of the things we've done as a church for several years is we have this angel tree, we call it compassion tree. It sits in our lobbies on the weekends leading up to Christmas. And so the toys that we give for the angel tree really goes to these kids. Yeah. And so we get to be a blessing to them. But that's just one person being inspired, wanting to know how we could do more. Yeah. And collectively as a church, we bless 200 families with Christmas gifts over the Christmas season.
Yeah, it's amazing. We've got a couple partners that help us with that too. Yes. But we'll have shipping containers full of Christmas toys to give away. And it is such a cool thing to provide it's not just one present.
Right.
Like, we're giving multiple presents to every kid in the family. Really cool. The generosity of the compassion offering, as well as some of the partners in the city that we have that help us with that. But that's just one of many of the different things. Like, something happened in you, and it's the reason I think that, over the last several years, you've become the overseer for everything we do with outreach at COTM Tulsa. And so that includes, you're still small groups. You're over God Behind Bars, which anybody that's been to our church knows we acknowledge on the weekend that we've got 2 Church on the Move locations in prisons, Dr. Eddie Warrior and Dick Connor Correctional Facility. And that's an awesome outreach outside the walls of our building. And we love that. That's our church family. Right. But then we've got Saturday serves. We've got a lot of different things in a lot of different categories, because some of you may go like, I can't really get to the school at the end of the day and do reading partners, but man, I'm really good with a skid steer, or whatever. Yeah. And so it's like, talk just real quickly, and this will be the last kind of thing that we talk about, but what are some of the ways that Jesus said, you'll be my witnesses in Jerusalem, and that's where they were. And then also out into Judea and Samaria. And Samaria in particular was not the best neighborhood according to the Jews. Right. And then to the ends of the earth. So like, our mandate is not just to, stay right here in the cul-de-sac.
That's goodly.
Our mandate is to get out there, neighborhoods we might not otherwise go, right? And be witnesses, shine the light of the gospel, bring the good news to people. Right. And so I think that's an area where you and I both want to see ourselves and our church just continue to grow. And we've seen some growth over the last few years. If I talk a little bit about what the opportunities are and the different kind of things that we're doing for outreach right now.
Yeah, man, if you have a skill, if you have a talent, or there's something that you feel like, man, I wish I could do this for people, there's plenty of opportunities in our community. We recently signed up to be partners with an organization called Care Portal. And so what they do is they'll put on this network of several churches that are on it that will just say, hey, we have a kid who just got back, his parents just got custody of him again. He needs a twin size bed, right? So for us, it's like, yes, we want to get that kid a twin size bed. We want the kid to be with their family. Again, I just gave you statistics proving kids without, both parents involved.
Stability.
And so when we have these parents that are trying to make it work, it's important that we come alongside of them and show them the gospel. This is where we get to put our faith in action, right?
Agreed.
I think James talks about that. And so it's important that we demonstrate our faith by our actions. And how are people going to see the gospel? How are they going to meet Jesus? if we don't get out and go. And the cool thing about it is we all have a gift that we have from God that we can offer to man, to be a light, to spur each other on to good work. So, so there's opportunities like that. If you simply just want to help supply needs, sometimes it's just simple things like bus passes or diapers, formula, things like that on the care portal that we can register for. You can sign up to get these alerts when they happen, and then you can go fulfill those and do it with your family. It's importantly that we bring our kids alongside of us so they see that early, that this is how we're to conduct ourselves as believers. This is what Jesus modeled for us. When we read the New Testament, Jesus was serving the community, as you said. And so that's what we get to do. So we have scenarios where we've needed to go help a single mom in our church with just like little things around the house. We recently, me and another guy, we put in a toilet at a guy's house. He's handicapped and he gets around in a wheelchair. So we came over there and we installed a toilet for him. It's just things like that. There's always trees that are falling. You and I got a request just recently where one of our church family members has a tree knocked over in their backyard. So we need to go over with chainsaws.
And she's a widow, and she can't manage it herself, and she needs the help of the church. And the church is mandated to help orphans and widows, right? I know there was a guy in our church that he had mold growing all throughout his house, and a group of guys that do this all the time, the mighty men, like they went over there and ripped out all the sheetrock, got it down to where there was no more mold, and rebuilt a bunch of his house as well, just like finished it, just helping people outside the walls of this church. And some are people that are from our church, but there's plenty that aren't, where we're going over to One Hope, and we're just making an impact on the people that we call our neighbors, because Jesus had something to say about neighbors. So if people want to know, what are we doing for Saturday Serve? Is it just cotm.info? What's the best thing?
So twice a month, we're going out into the community somewhere, whether it's helping children in crisis, whether it's helping, elderly people. We're going to nursing homes on Love Day, which is coming up July 11th. You go to cotm.info. You can look at the Saturday Serve link, and it'll tell you what we're doing. You also, once you register for that, you'll get on the email list. So you'll be the first to know, because we'll email you out the month ahead of time just saying, hey, next month, here's what we got going. And so if you see something that you're like, oh, man, I can do that. I've got that skill. Right now, we've got a guy who's requested a carport be put up in his front yard. And, there's just always these little things that we can do. So if you've got a trade skill like it, we could use you. Plumbers, electrician. Man, we'd love to create opportunities for you to use those gifts and those skills for the kingdom, just to minister the gospel.
Dude, I love spending time with you, and you make me better. And that's what this is about as we close. Just for the guys that are watching this, what's something God's doing in your life right now? I mean, we're always telling people in our church, what's God's next step for you? And, what's he teaching you? And because we want to be sharp like that too. I don't have all the answers and just sharing them with people. God's still leading me with next steps too. What's God doing with you right now?
Oh, man. There is a couple of guys that I've been meeting with, and I think what I'm seeing is men are in relationships with people that they work with generally. Like you spend a lot of time outside of your home. Your job is probably the next place you spend most of your time. So naturally, relationships will develop out of that. And I'm talking just friendships, guys hanging out with each other, watching the game or whatever. And some of the guys that I'm hanging with, their taste is beginning to change. Like they're no longer wanting to hang out with those guys from work. They're seeing having a godly community is having an impact on them. And so the things that they want to talk about, Lee, are no longer the things that their coworkers are necessarily talking about. So it's like when you grow and mature, you begin to change. And the people that you've probably been spending time with become uncomfortable with your spiritual growth, right? With that maturity.
It's true.
So for some of us, it's time to change the friendships that we have, change that circle. Get you people in your life that are good influences on your life. People that are encourage you to read, people that want to talk about what they've read. I'm telling you, your spiritual maturity will take significant growth when you surround yourself with other people that are pursuing Jesus.
Yeah.
It is so important. And us as men, as the leaders, spiritual leaders in our homes, if we connect with other spiritual leaders, it just makes us better.
Yeah.
Better parents,
Mm-hmm.
better husbands, better employees.
Yeah.
You know, it just makes us better all the way around. So that would be what I would want to encourage men today with, is just look at who you're spending your time with and evaluate that, because the people that you spend your time with might not be the right people for you, especially in this season.
Makes me think of that quote. I'm not going to get it quite right, but most people become the sum of the 5 people they spend the most time with, you know? And that's happening in reverse too. People that are hanging out with you are becoming more like you. So what kind of model are you, presenting?
Living a life worth imitating?
Would people want to be around me, right? But man, I think that's a great word to finish on as it relates to brotherhood.
Yeah.
That's what brotherhood is. It's trying to create a community of men where by being together and doing life together, we're getting better. We're getting better as husbands, as fathers, as followers of Jesus, as business owners, as employees, that the community, the family, the home, everything gets better because we're sharpening one another. Mm-hmm. And man, that's a really good word. Hey, thanks for watching this. There were just a few things we wanted to talk about that we didn't have time for in the breakfast. Just for those of you who didn't see it, we're moving our June breakfast back a week. It was June 5th. Now it's June 12th. We're having a maintenance kind of replacement thing with our lighting in the fellowship hall. Didn't want to move to the sanctuary. We still want to have our good bacon. So we're just going to pivot one week. Pastor Seth Swindoll from our West location, who's a man's man, bow hunter. You guys are going to love him if you haven't heard Seth before. He's going to be speaking to us on June 12th. So we can't wait to see you there. Love you guys. Hey, be the brotherhood and get out there and make a difference. See you next time.